start by giving you some disappointing news. There is no rule of thumb. And that's because everything on Amazon depends on what the hell you're selling. So let's just look at what I mean by that. And let's see if I can show you at least some ways to get a better understanding. Now, this is going to apply to you no matter where you are in your Amazon journey. And I'm going to give you some beginner stuff to think about, some intermediate stuff to think about, and some advanced stuff to think about. So no matter where you are in your Amazon journey, this will be applicable to you, all right? And the very second that you grasp this, everything on Amazon changes. The very second you get it, everything on Amazon changes. So let's just start with a search. Let's start with a searcher. So when you are doing a search, let's suppose, I don't know, we do a search for lampshade. Now, think about this. This is super, super important. There are 30,000 results for lampshade, okay? There are 30,000 results for lampshade. Does that mean you are competing with 30,000 people who are looking to buy a lampshade? Is that what that means? Let's be interactive. No, it does not mean you are competing with 30,000 people. Because when somebody searches for a lampshade, typically they are looking for a particular kind of lampshade. So we've just finished an apartment in Lisbon that we're going to do serviced apartment lets with, and so my lovely wife has done the interior for that. So she looked for a particular kind of lampshade. So whilst she may come into Amazon and search for lampshade, actuality, she's looking for a particular kind of lampshade to suit our apartment, the way the colors, the way the design is, etc., etc. So you're never competing with 30,000 people for the product. Never. First important thing to recognize. I mean, look how different, just those three there, how different they are. The person what is interested in this lampshade, which by the way has got one review and is on page 1 for the main search term lampshade, consider that for a second, is a much different person to the person who's interested in this lampshade, or indeed is interested in this lampshade. They are totally different people. Totally different people. So something like lampshade, I mean, look at it. Look at it. It's so different. Somebody looking for a lampshade will scroll through heaps of pages. That's pretty sexy. Heaps of pages, whereas that's not for me, based on my taste. Heaps of different pages looking for the right one. They may check 10 different pages for the lampshade, okay? So being on page 1 for the search term lampshade is not as important as you might think, because people are looking for a particular kind of lampshade, but it's difficult to articulate what you're looking for until you see it. All right? So there's that. Think about that first and foremost. Second, let's take another particular search result. Let's take a search result for Father's Day gift. Father's Day gift. So now I am looking for a gift for my dad. So there are 100,000 results for Father's Day gifts. Now, again, I'm going to scroll through because, you know, my dad, well, he doesn't like these tens machines. That's not what my dad's all about. He's already got a wallet, so he doesn't need one of them. He doesn't even like doing any DIY, so he wouldn't like that, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so they're going to scroll through pages. That's hilarious. They're going to scroll through heaps of pages looking for the thing again. So it's not as important as you might think being on page 1 for the search term. Think about this. It's massively important. People will scroll because there's lots and lots of search terms where they put them in, but they can't articulate over and above what it's for. They can't articulate what their subconscious preferences are until they see it. All right. So there's that. Now, I'm not quite sure if I'm answering your question here, Kieran, but it's important regardless. Let's take a different one. Let's take something different now. Let's take yoga mat. Yoga mat, 30,000 results. Okay. Now, a yoga mat is a different thing because there ain't really that many different kinds of yoga mats. There's not really that different kinds of yoga mats. I might have a preference, for instance, to the color. I may have a preference for that. I may have a preference for something that's extra thick, for instance. Maybe that. Or I may have a preference for wanting some kind of crazy mandala on my yoga mat. I may have a preference for that. But outside of that, I may be looking for a yoga kit. But outside of that, really, there ain't a lot of other choices. That's interesting. Look at that. Limited time offer. I wonder how they got that passed. Let's open that up. There ain't a lot of other choices, okay, for yoga mats. And so therefore, it becomes much more important to get your keyword right. It's much more important to get your keyword right. So now, I may not be interested in ranking for the key phrase yoga mat. I may be much better trying to rank for the keyword phrase yoga mat for Bikram. Bikram, for instance. There you go. Bikram yoga mat. I may be much better trying to rank for that, which has only got 605 results, so significantly less results. Does that make sense? I hope it does. It's such an important distinction. The product you sell has to dictate your strategy around your marketing. It has to dictate that. And some products, people will go looking for them, and so ranking on page 1 is just not as important. It's just not as important because they'll search through heaps and heaps of different ones. Other products like Bikram yoga mat, where there's only a few different potential variations on that, color, what's printed on the mat, is it big or small, is it thick? Well, outside of that, there's not a lot of else that's available to you or important to you, and therefore your ranking is very, very important. I hope that makes sense. So for instance, if we scroll, you can see there's not a lot of difference between these yoga mats. Like we've even got a yoga towel ranked on page 1, which is interesting. Hope that makes sense. So you've got to think about this stuff in terms of what is the product you're selling. Now, the AOE training is necessarily broad. There's no way I can say to you, if you're selling copper mugs, then this is the strategy for your SEO. There's no way I can do that because there's millions of potential products. So I have to go broad because that's just, unfortunately, the only thing I can do. I have to give you general advice. Your job is to think about your product and think about what happens when somebody looks for it. That has to come from you. I can't do that for you. All I can do is give you the philosophy and the things to consider behind it. Hey, thanks so much for watching that video, and I hope that you got some massive value from it. Before you go, do you live in Australia? If you do, this is for you. Would you like to learn how to sell things on Amazon here in Australia? Would you like to know what sells really, really well and what sells for the maximum amount of profit? Would you like to know where you can source those products from, whether that be in China or here in Australia, and how to source them so you pay bottom dollar and get maximum value for what you're doing. If you do, please subscribe to my channel and like this video, and you'll learn that and much more. It's the exact same information that people like Jeff from New South Wales I've used to make $45,000 a month on Amazon, that Sue, who's from the sunny coast, has used to purchase herself a brand spankly BMW every single year as a result of her e-commerce business, and the lovely Kate from Bowral in New South Wales has used to make $32,000 a year on a month, not a year, a month on Amazon, and indeed Anthony, who makes $15,000 a month on Amazon selling, as he puts it, odds and sods. If you'd like to learn the exact same information that they use to maximize their profits for their Amazon businesses, subscribe to this video, like my channel, post below if you want me to teach you something. Okay, I'm out of here. Speak to you soon. Bye. Subscribe. Do it now.